and welcome to our Gita Amritam Rasamaliyam session 9 and of our systematic study of Bhagavad Gita, which we are doing every Saturdays. And today we have a very special guest speaker about whom I shall request our dear friend Sham Sundar Rauji to kindly introduce. So over to you, Sham Sundar Rauji. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Warm welcome to all of you. Namaskar. And I take this opportunity to welcome and thank Arjun Saka Prabhuji to join amidst us to talk about Gita wisdom on chapter 1. Most importantly, the life learning. Before he starts, let me give a brief background of Arjun Saka Prabhuji. He is a wonderful devotee initiated by His Holiness Radha Govindas Goswami Maharaj. He is fortunate to be born in a great devotee family. His parents, as we all know, are C.R. Seshadri Prabhuji. His initiated name is Shyam Chandra Das. And Veena Mataji, her initiated name is Sundari Dasi Mataji. The parents themselves are initiated devotees of His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Damodar Swami Maharaj. It's a pleasure to know this devotee family. All the four people in their family, now including their married partners, are into Krishna consciousness. So it is our fortune that we are interacting with them regularly for learning Gita wisdom from them. This is about his family background. Let's look at his academic. He is he holds a master's degree in information systems from New Jersey, US. And spiritually, he has done his Bhakti Shastri degree from ISKCON Chowpatty at Mumbai. He is very active into preaching and he leads the youth preaching initiatives at ISKCON centers in Seattle, Chicago, and North Carolina. He also leads preaching at University of Washington. Additionally, Prabhu has orchestrated various one-time youth retreats in locations such as Baltimore, Pune, Mumbai, Bangalore, and Dubai. He conducts the yearly Saranagati Youth Retreat at GEV near Bombay, aiming to ignite the enthusiasm of youth for the path of Krishna consciousness. Professionally, Prabhu is settled in US. He works in the IT sector, and all of Prabhu's classes can be found on the YouTube channel Arjun Saka Das Official. And his Instagram page is Arjun Saka Das Official. With this brief description, I now welcome Arjun Saka Das amidst us to take over and walk us through Gita wisdom. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Warm welcome to you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, dear Sham Sundar Prabhu, for that very kind introduction. And I also thank my parents who are also here, Sham Chandra Prabhu and Sundari Mataji. So just for those devotees who are joining us here for the first time, Gita Amritam Rasamalayam is a forum that's been conducted on every Saturdays, 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time, where Bhagavad Gita is being studied systematically. And my father, Sham Chandra Prabhu and Sham Sundar Rao Prabhu, are the teachers for that systematic study of the Shrimad Bhagavad Gita. So I feel very honored and very privileged to be part of this discussion and this forum where we can hear and chant about that scripture that was, is, and forever will be the magnum opus of all those who call themselves the Sanatanis, the followers of the Sanatan Dharma. But before we get started, let us chant the invocation prayers, also in Sanskrit called as the Mangalacharan prayers. Seek auspiciousness from those who are our spiritual superiors, and then get started in our today's discussion. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरि वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनेति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण श्री भगवद गीता की जय if we see the scriptures if we study shastra minutely then we will see there is a pattern in which Krishna shares knowledge with the world. It's not haphazard. There is a pattern and there's a structured manner in which Krishna shares his knowledge with the world. Let's take two books. One is the Bhagavad Gita, which is the words spoken by Krishna. And second, we have Shrimad Bhagavatam, which is about Krishna. So there's one book that is spoken by Krishna, and then there's one book that speaks about Krishna, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. And we will see Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam have very, very similar structured approach that the Supreme Lord uses to spread knowledge. The Bhagavad Gita, how does the Bhagavad Gita start? The first chapter is just a preface, observing the armies. We'll come more to that as we discuss, but we say it's a preface. Krishna has not yet started speaking. Arjuna is in despondency. There is confusion, lamentation, anxiety, depression, all sorts of emotions like a whirlwind are just going through Arjuna's heart. And he sees the army and then turns towards Krishna. And he's just asking one question to Krishna. What is the duty? What is the duty of a person who's there in such a battlefield? What is he supposed to do? So it's a preface to the scripture. The real scripture has not yet started. Why? Because Krishna has not yet started speaking. Now, if you go to the Shrimad Bhagavatam, the first canto of the Shrimad Bhagavatam is also very same. Why? Because there are series of events that lead to Parikshit Maharaj being cursed. Then he comes to the bank of the Ganga in order to hear from Shukadev Goswami. Shukadev Goswami is not yet started speaking. He starts speaking from the second canto. But here we find exactly similar to the Bhagavad Gita. Parikshit Maharaj is also asking that one question. What is the person supposed to do at the time of death? When there is imminent death in front of us, what is that activity the person should be doing? So in the Gita first chapter, Arjuna is asking a question and the scripture has not yet begun. And likewise, we find in the Bhagavatam, Parikshit Maharaj is asking a question and the scripture has not yet started. In the second chapter of the Gita, the second chapter is called as Gita, contents of the Gita summarized. which means in a nutshell, Krishna summarizes the entire 18 chapters. The same we find in the Bhagavatam. In the second canto, chapter 1, 2, and 3, Shukadev Goswami, who's the speaker of Shrimad Bhagavatam, he practically summarizes the entire essence of Shrimad Bhagavatam, the first three chapters of the second canto, just like Krishna did in the second chapter of the Gita, where he summarized the whole Gita, contents of the Gita summarized. Now, if you proceed ahead, I'm pretty sure the speakers in the past, my father and Sham Sundar Prabhu, have already shared this point as to how in the Bhagavad Gita, bhakti, which is the essence, bhakti yoga, is placed in the center. There is karma, gyan, then there is bhakti yoga, and then there is gyan marg. That's how it's chalked out by the Supreme Lord. So bhakti, which is the essence, is placed in the center, that is chapter 7 to 12. Similarly in Srimad Bhagavatam, the essence of the whole scripture, which is canto 10, Prabhupada calls canto 10 as samam bonam, which is the essence of devotional life. Now you may have a question that how is canto 10 in between? If there are 12 cantos, canto 6 should be in between. How is canto 10 in between? Well, actually it is. Why? Because the whole of Srimad Bhagavatam has 18,000 verses. And in that 18,000 verses, the first 9 cantos are about roughly 9,000 verses, which leaves canto 10, 11, and 12 with the last 9,000. Which means from the standpoint of verses, from the standpoint of number of verses, canto 10 also falls in the middle. And that's where the essence has been placed. So just like in the Gita, Krishna places the essence in the middle. Similarly, in the Bhagavatam, the essence has been placed in the middle. Just like in the Gita, between chapter 7 and 12, the essence of that is chapter 9, where Krishna calls it the most confidential knowledge. It is the essence of the essence. Why? Because chapter 7 to 12 is the essence of Gita, and the essence of that is chapter 9, which is the most confidential knowledge. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam, canto 10 is the essence, and in that essence, chapter 29 to chapter 33 become the cream, the essence. So it's the essence of the essence, just like in the Gita, we find chapter 9 is the essence of the essence, which is the Bhakti Yoga section. If we proceed ahead, how does the Bhagavad Gita end? It ends with Gyan. Krishna gives knowledge. Krishna speaks about karma, then he speaks about bhakti, and then he ends with Gyan. Why? Because we see that Krishna gives the essence, that is sweetness. Madhurena samapayet. Normally in Sanskrit there is a saying, we always end with the sweet. It's an Ayurvedic principle primarily, that whatever we eat, at the end we should have a sweet. Why? Because when the sweet goes inside, it's a signal for the body that that's it. No more digestion. After this, there should be nothing else. So, madhurena samapayat. When we end our food, we should end with the sweet. So, similarly, the principle should be that Krishna should have ended with the sweet. Why is he ending with Gyan, which is very contradictory to what Ayurveda speaks about or what Ayurveda preaches? Well, the understanding is Krishna gives the sweetness, that is bhakti, but then he gives the knowledge as to how to navigate through the challenges of this world. Sweetness is presented, but the knowledge to navigate through the challenges of this world is presented at the end. That is Gyan. Now, the same thing we find in the Bhagavatam. Canto 11 and 12, which is the last part of the Bhagavatam, is also Gyan. Krishna speaks about Gyan, he speaks about Vairagya, detachment, etc. And all this conversation he has with a personality by the name Uddhava, which is called as the Uddhav Gita. Basically, Uddhav Gita is an extension of the Bhagavad Gita. The same points of the Bhagavad Gita are presented in the Uddhav Gita, but Krishna becomes more elaborate, more detailed when he speaks to Uddhava. So, what are we seeing here? Chapter 1, Canto 1, same. Chapter 2, Canto 2, same. Chapter 7 to 12, the essence is similar to Canto 10. Chapter 9, which is the essence of the essence, is similar to Canto 10, chapter 29 to 33, which is the essence of the essence. Chapter 13 to 18, which is the last part of the Gita, which is Gyan, is similar to Canto 11 and 12, which is again Gyan. So, what are we trying to present here? When Krishna speaks the Bhagavad Gita, It's not haphazard. It's a structured approach in which he speaks. And it's very interesting that Krishna didn't have time to prepare. It was not a Gita Amritam Rasamalan class where he came prepared, he had slides to present. Krishna spoke on the spot. And in the battlefield, where there's complete chaos, it's chaotic. Krishna ends up speaking the Bhagavad Gita in straight 48 minutes. 48 मिनट में भगवान पूरा गीता सुना दिए. And Krishna didn't forget. It was not that at one point Krishna was scratching his head, what's the next verse? Krishna spoke it continuously. We see when we memorize verses, we remember the first two lines, then we forget the third line. Or if we remember the three lines, we forget the fourth line. And you need someone to nudge you, to remind you. But there's nowhere in the Gita where Bhagavan bhul gaye. Krishna forgot. In 48 minutes straight, Krishna speaks the Bhagavad Gita. The time that we are taking now to summarize the first chapter of the Gita, Krishna finishes the entire 18 chapters in that. That is Bhagavan. That is Bhagavan. So we find this scripture is so glorious that even Lord Shiva in his Gita Mahatmya, he says, Eko Shastro Devaki Shastrameva. If there is one Shastra that needs to be studied, then that is the Bhagavad Gita. Eko Devo Devaki Putra Eva. If there is one personality to be worshipped, then that is Krishna. Eko mantrastasya namani yani. If there's one mantra to be held on to, then that is the names of Krishna, or the holy name, or the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This Bhagavad Gita we find is so glorious that its reference is found in so many parallel scriptures. Like, for example, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? He's Krishna. When Krishna appears in Dwapar Yuga, he's called Krishna. When that Krishna appears in Kali Yuga, he's called Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is not different from Krishna, was traveling around India, different places. At one point, he reaches South India, Dakshin Bharat. And in South India, he reaches a place called a Sri Rangam. Very nice place. It is the place where the Supreme Lord is resting. I remember I met one devotee and I asked him that of all the deities that you have seen, which is your favorite deity? आप इतने सारे मूर्ति देखे हैं, आपका पसंदीदा कौन सा है? Which is your favorite deity? And he said, Ranganatha Swami, Sri Rangam. I said, why? There are so many deities around the world where Krishna is playing the flute, where Krishna is dancing, etc. He said, no, that deity is wonderful because their deity is sleeping. It's very relatable to me. All of the deities, Krishna is standing here, the deity is nicely sleeping. Yehi hamara pasandida hai. So we see, we connect to Krishna also based on the likes and the qualities that we have. But when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reached Sri Rangam, there in Sri Rangam, he met one Brahmana, one South Indian Brahman. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw him, this Brahman was crying. Haath mein Bhagavad Gita tha, he had Bhagavad Gita in his hand, and he was crying. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to him, he said, what happened? Did you study the whole Gita? He said, no, I am illiterate. I can't study. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, hey, wait a minute. You are illiterate. Why are you crying with the Bhagavad Gita? Normally, if you're crying with the Bhagavad Gita, it only means you have studied properly. But why are you crying? This Brahmana, interestingly, did not even know how to hold the Bhagavad Gita. अब इतना तो हम सबको पता ही होगा कि भगवत गीता को कैसे पकड़ना है. We will not hold it upside down. This Brahmana was holding the Gita upside down and then was crying. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, Baba, why are you crying? आप रो क्यों रहे हैं? This Brahmana said, मूर्ख विप्र कहे मूर्ख आमी अर्थ नाही जानी शुद्ध शुद्ध गीता पढ़ी गुरु आज्ञा मानी. विप्र कहे, विप्र मीन्स ब्राह्मण. विप्र कहे मूर्ख आमी, मैं मूर्ख हूं, आई एम मूर्ख. अर्थ नहीं जानी, I don't understand what Krishna is speaking. अरे बाबा, why are you crying? शुद्ध अशुद्ध गीता पढ़ी, गुरु आज्ञा मानी. My guru told me. मेरे जो गुरु है, he told me to study Gita, so I am studying. Okay, but why are you still crying with the Bhagavad Gita? He said, I am crying because when I see the cover page of the Bhagavad Gita, my heart melts. That he who is Bhagavan, Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, Suridam Sarva Bhutanam Nyatva Mam Shantim Rachati. He who is Bhoktaram, all the three worlds belong to him. He who is the creator of all creators, he who is the origin of all origin, he who is the source of all sources, he from whom everything emanates, he is ready to become a driver for his devotee. What is Krishna doing in the Gita? If you see the cover page, even before the first chapter starts, if you see the cover page, Krishna, who's Bhagavan, is becoming a driver for his devotee. And the Brahmana said, just by looking at this, I feel to cry. Now, to everyone present here, how many of us would want to become a driver for someone else? Not a lot of people. Why? Because it's not considered a white collar job. How many of us would be ready to drive an Ola taxi or Uber, or whatever is there in India? That too for someone else. For our family members, okay. But for someone who's not even blood related, how many of us would want to do that? Not a lot, right? But Krishna, who's Bhagavan, is ready to drive the chariot for Arjuna. This Brahmana said, just by looking at this scene, I feel like crying. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced him. And Mahaprabhu said, you have understood the Gita. Why? Because you have understood the heart of Krishna. So, dear devotees, studying Bhagavad Gita is not to become a scholar. हम पंडित बनने के लिए शास्त्र नहीं पढ़ रहे हैं. The purpose of studying Bhagavad Gita is to become a devotee, is to develop good character. If we don't develop good character, if we are not able to become a devotee, but we only amass and start memorizing verses and verses and verses, it's good, but it's not great. The purpose of Gita is to feel emotions, is to develop good character. There's one very prolific personality in the path of spirituality, goes by the name His Holiness Radhanath Swami. And he defines character. He says, character is who we are when no one is watching us. Character is who we are when no one is watching us. When everyone is watching us, everyone is a good person. जब सब हमें देख रहे हैं, हम सब अच्छे ही होते हैं. But when no one is watching us, that defines who we really are, and that's character. I'll just give you two examples. The first example is Bhishma Dev from the Mahabharata. If you see the life of Bhishma Dev, then during the time when Draupadi was being disrobed, Bhishma Dev could have spoken. Did he have the power to speak? Yes. Did he have the power to stop what was happening? Yes. Why? Because he was a Maharati. Still, Bhishma Dev did not speak. Even when everyone was watching. He could have spoken, he could have stopped it, but he didn't do it. Let's take another example. Jatayu. When Mother Sita was kidnapped. In both examples, the chastity of a lady was at stake. On one side, Bhishma Dev did not speak anything, and he let adharma continue. And on the other side is a bird, is a vulture practically. The chastity of Mother Sita has been questioned, and Jatayu, without thinking anything, puts his life at stake and fights Ravana, even when he knows Ravana is 10 times more powerful, ends up dying, but tries to protect the chastity, even when no one was watching. That's character. Bhishma Dev did not do anything even when everyone was watching. And Jatayu did something when no one was watching. And that is why we see Bhishma Dev died on a bed of arrows. And Jatayu died on the lap of Sri Ram. That's character. That is character. That is why the Bhagavad Gita is so important, because it teaches one the art of developing good character. And it is that good character that touches and inspires the heart of Krishna. So we find that this Bhagavad Gita, the first chapter of the Gita, it very beautifully starts. Well, even before it starts, in the first chapter itself, we find there are a couple of names that are brought up. We have a personality by the name Duryodhan. We have a personality by the name Arjuna. We have a personality by the name Dhritarashtra. And then we have Sri Krishna. Of course, there are many other personalities. I will just focus on these four names. We see Sanskrit as a language where all these names have a meaning. All these names have a particular meaning. If we see the word Duryodhan, it is based on two words that come together. Yodhan or Yodha means fighter, good fighter. But Duryodhan, Dur means difficult. So Duryodhan, oh, he is that fighter who is very difficult to fight with. इतना अच्छा लड़ते हैं that it's very difficult to defeat him. Duryodhan. Dur means difficult and Yodhan or Yodha means a fighter. Very difficult to fight with. While at the same time, Dur also means bad and Yodhan means to fight. Which means Duryodhan also, if you see the negative connotation, Duryodhan also means he who fights for the wrong cause, he who fights for the bad cause. One understanding is Duryodhan means he who is difficult to fight with. That's the positive understanding. The negative understanding is he who fights for the bad reasons, he who fights for the wrong cause, that is Adharma. Duryodhan. Then you have a personality by the name Arjun. Arjun means pure. So Arjuna is called Arjun or Arjuna because he has pure character. And because he had pure character, Krishna was always there with him. Then we have a third personality by the name um, Dhritarashtra. Oh, well, before we even go there, we find in the Gita itself, Arjuna also has many other names. We have a few names that Arjuna is uh, used to address. Krishna uses a few names to address Arjuna. One is Partha. He's called Partha because he's the son of Pritha, Kunti Devi. He's also called as Dhananjay. Why? Because he's the conqueror of wealth. He's called Gudakesha. Gudaka means sleep, and Isha means the Lord. He who is the Lord or the master of sleep, or he who has conquered over sleep. He who has won over sleep. Arjuna also has a name called as Sabyasachi. Like in India, we see there is a very famous fashion brand, Sabyasachi. During marriage and during big events, celebrities they buy from Sabyasachi. So Sabyasachi is a Sanskrit word which basically means ambidextrous, where you can do the same thing with both hands. Arjuna was Sabyasachi. Why? Because he could shoot arrows from both hands. So Arjuna goes by different names. Then we have Dhritarashtra. Rashtra means kingdom, and Dhrita means to hold. He who always held on to his kingdom, or he who was always attached to the kingdom, is Dhritarashtra. And we see Dhritarashtra had this. Even when he could have given the kingdom to Yudhishthir Maharaj, he did not give it. And that's why the whole Mahabharata unfolded. Which means anyone who's very attached to the position, the person may be dead and gone. Dhritarashtra is dead and gone. But if you still have this tendency, कि हम गद्दी नहीं छोड़ेंगे, I will not leave this position. Till the time I die, I want to be in this position. That's the quality of Dhritarashtra, who's so attached to position that he cannot leave. Likewise, now is we say it's the season of Mahavatar Nrsimha. Everywhere that's trending. Hashtag Mahavatar Nrsimha. In Nrsimhadev pastime also we find we have Hiranyakashipu. Hiranya means gold and Kashipu means bed. Anyone who's way too attached to gold and bed, that's sleeping. That's the tendency of Hiranyakashipu. The person may be dead and gone, but if the qualities are still there, that's the quality of Hiranyakashipu. Or here Dhritarashtra. Anyone who's way too attached to the kingdom that he cannot give it to anyone. Even when he knows Yudhishthir Maharaj is the right heir to the kingdom, still Dhritarashtra Maharaj could not give. So Dhritarashtra, he who holds on to the kingdom. And we find Dhritarashtra Maharaj was not just materially blind, he was spiritually blind also. Spiritually blind, why? Because he knew Duryodhan was wrong. He knew Duryodhan was doing adharma. Still, he did not stop him. He was spiritually blind and materially blind. Why? Because it's very interesting. We see Dhritarashtra was born blind. Why? Because 100 lifetimes in the past, Dhritarashtra had a habit. When ants would go, जब चींटियां चलती थी रास्ते में, when ants would go, he would take a blade of grass and poke the eye of the ant. And he would have sadistic pleasure in that. मजा आता था. To poke the eye of the ant, he would feel very happy. Now, after his punya got completely exhausted, after 100 lifetimes, he got the karma of poking the eye where he was born blind. So, this leads us to a principle: karma is like a boomerang. Whatever we do, it will come back. Even if you're Dhritarashtra, whatever you do, it's going to come back. So, it's of paramount importance that kadam kadam phuk phuk kar rakhe. Because we don't know what's going to come back. So, every action that we are doing, you have to be very, very cautious. Likewise, Bhishma Dev, many lifetimes in the past, one time he took an arrow and pierced it inside a snake. There was a snake in the kingdom, and with the arrow, he picked up the snake and he threw the snake in a forest of thorns. And because the snake fell in a forest of thorns, they prick. Because of that, after many lifetimes, Bhishma Dev was in a similar situation where he was in a forest of arrows that were thorn-like, which was going inside out of Bhishma Dev. So every action we do has an equal and opposite reaction. As Isaac Newton says, the third law. Everything that we do is going to come back. It's like a boomerang. So every action that we are doing, we have to make sure that it's in line with dharma, that it's not like Duryodhan where we are going towards adharma. And finally, we have the fourth personality, the celebrated hero of the Bhagavad Gita, that is Sri Krishna. What does the name Krishna mean? Krish means attraction, and Rana means Ananda. He who attracts our heart and fills our heart with so much Ananda, so much joy that there is no room for anything else is Krishna. भगवान हृदय को इतना छीन लेते हैं और हृदय में इतना प्रेम डालते हैं, इतना आनंद डालते हैं कि अब हृदय में और किसी के लिए कुछ जगह ही नहीं है. There is no room for anything else except happiness. That's Krishna. And Krishna is actually a personality who's very attractive. As we said, Krish means attraction. In the Mahabharata itself, just after, we find when Krishna was there in Dwarka, in the land of Dwarka, there is a very beautiful episode that happens wherein one Brahmana comes to Krishna, and every time a child is born to that Brahmana, the child dies. बच्चा जन्म लेता है, बच्चा मर जाता है, बच्चा जन्म लेता है, बच्चा मर जाता है. So the Brahmana was perplexed and he went to Krishna and said, Krishna, what is happening? Why is it that my children are dying? Arjuna was standing there. Arjuna said, don't worry. The next time your child is born, I will pick up my Gandhiva and with my arrows, I will make sure that the child doesn't die. Next child appears, lo and behold, the child again dies. Now Arjuna is perplexed. What power is this where even my Gandhiva is not able to defeat this force? He turned towards Krishna and said, Krishna, how is it that this Brahmana's child is dying constantly? Krishna held the hand of Arjuna and took him to Vishnu, to Vaikunta. He took him to Vaikunta. And when they went to Vaikunta, Vishnu was lying on the ocean bed, and all the four children who had died were all sitting with Vishnu. सब जीवित थे, सब विष्णु के पास थे. So Arjuna looked at Vishnu and said, my dear Vishnu, why did you take all the children? Why is it that all these children died for the Brahmana and you are having all the children? Why? That time Vishnu says, I don't have anything with the children, but I thought to myself, if I take the children, then Krishna will come to reclaim them back. And when Krishna comes, I can see the beautiful form of Krishna. Krishna is so busy that he will not give me time. Vishnu is saying, द्विजात्मजा मे युवयोदिदिक्षुणा मयोपनीता भुवि धर्म गुप्तये कलावतीर्णा ववने भरसुरान् हत्वेह भूयस्त्वरये तमन्तिमे. Vishnu is saying that, oh Krishna, you are so busy that you will not give me time. But if I take these children, in the pretext of reclaiming the children back, you will come here to Vaikuntha, and if you come here, I can see your form. And just looking at the form of Krishna, Vishnu gives the children back. So, what are we speaking here? It's not mere mortal. Even Vishnu gets attracted by the beauty of Krishna. That is Krishna. Krishna means attraction, now means Ananda. Now, Now starts the first chapter of the Gita. All this was simply what's happening before the first chapter. Now we see it actually begins from here. Here we see Dhritarashtra is speaking the only verse of the whole Gita. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharmakshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamaka pandavaschaiva kimakurvata sanjaya. Who's speaking? Dhritarashtra. What is Dhritarashtra speaking? Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre. That both the parties have assembled. Where have they assembled? In the place called as Kurukshetra. Why Kurukshetra? Why didn't they meet anywhere else? And why is Kurukshetra called Dharmakshetra? Two reasons. There are two reasons why Kurukshetra was chosen and why it's Dharmakshetra. First, Kshetra means land. And Kuru is Raja Kuru, who is the ancestor of the Kauravas and Pandavas. As we know, Kauravas and Pandavas are related, they are brothers. Pandava's father is Maharaj Pandu, Kaurava's father is Dhritarashtra, who are brothers. But their ancestor is Maharaj Kuru, and because he personally, with his own hands, he dug the land and he did austerity and tapasya and penance in that land to the extent where the Devatas came down, Indra, Chandra, Agni, Vayu, Varuna. They came down and blessed Maharaj Kuru, and they blessed the land, and they gave the assurance that anyone who dies in this land, oh, they will get liberated. जो भी व्यक्ति मरण पाएगा इस भूमि पर, उस व्यक्ति का उद्धार हो जाएगा. Who has given the guarantee? The demigods, the devatas, Indra, Chandra, Agni, Vayu, Varuna, etc. Why did they give? Because Maharaj Kuru did tapasya. Because he did tapasya, the land is called as Kuru Kshetra. Kuru is Maharaj Kuru, Kshetra means land. This is first reason. Why? Because it was blessed by the Devatas. Second reason is Parashara Muni also did tapasya in that land. Parashara Muni did tapasya in that land for years and years and years together. Who's Parashara Muni? The father of Vyasdev. Vyasdev ki pitaji hai Parashara Muni. Parashar Muni did tapasya in that land for so many years that he blessed the land. Now, the land is blessed by the Devatas and the land is also blessed by the sages. साधु संत का भी आशीर्वाद है, देवता गण का भी आशीर्वाद है. The land has now become holy and auspicious. This is why Krishna, of all the places, picks up Kurukshetra for the history that it has. And also we find it's very interesting that for Vyasadeva, life goes a full circle. Because Vyasadeva is the author of the Mahabharata, and the whole epic that he has written, it finally culminates in the same place where his father once upon a time did tapasya. So life goes a full circle for Vyasadeva. So two reasons why Kurukshetra was chosen. Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra. Now, interestingly, if we see the next line, Samaveta Yuyutsava. Both the parties have come together. Why? Not to watch an IPL match. Both have come together to fight. Samaveta Yuyutsava. मारामारी के लिए, लड़ाई के लिए आए हैं. But in the last line, Mamaka Pandavas Chaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya, he looks at Sanjaya and says, my dear Sanjaya, both have come together to fight. Please tell me, what did they do? Wait a minute. Isn't it paradoxical? You are saying that both have come together to fight, and then you are asking Sanjaya, दोनों लड़ाई के लिए आए, फिर क्या किए? Wait a minute, if they're coming together to fight, they will fight, right? Well, the understanding is it's not a paradoxical statement. The mind and the psychology of Dhritarashtra Maharaj is explained here. Dhritarashtra Maharaj is thinking to himself that that land of Kurukshetra is holy. It is Dharma Kshetra. It is the place where Dharma resides. So he still has a feeling in his heart that because it's the land of Dharma, maybe the Pandavas will back off. Maybe the Pandavas will think, nay, nay, this is the land of Dharma, we should not fight. Dhritarashtra Maharaj still has that little doubt that maybe because it's the land of Dharma, there will not be any fight. The Pandavas will back off. Krishna will back off. So he knows why they've assembled, but still he's asking Sanjaya to get answer to this question. Did they really fight? I know they assembled for fighting, but did they really fight? Dharma kshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveda Yuyutsava, Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kimma Kurvata Sanjaya. And who is this question directed to? It's directed to Sanjaya. So the first verse we find is what Dhritarashtra is speaking. Now the next full chapter is what Sanjaya is going to speak. Now Sanjaya was blessed by Vyasadeva. When the battle was about to begin, as we know, it's the famous story where Dhritarashtra cannot see and Vyasadeva comes and blesses Sanjaya. And he blesses Sanjaya with three types of vision. First, he gives him Divya Drishti. Vyasadeva gives Divya Drishti to Sanjaya. Divya Drishti means wherever you are, you can see what's happening afar. यदि आप इंडिया में बैठे हैं तो आपको पता है अमेरिका में क्या चल रहा है. यदि अमेरिका में बैठे हैं तो आपको पता है इंडिया में क्या चल रहा है. Not with TV, not with WhatsApp, but the whole pastime gets unveiled in your heart. It's like a CCTV camera. Divya Drishti. Vyasadeva blessed him that wherever you are, you can see everything that's happening. That's the first blessing. Second, he gave him Antargyan. Antargyan is knowledge of what people are thinking, the emotions that are running in their heart, what they're thinking in their mind. Sanjaya could read even that. And third, he gave him Shabdagyan. Shabdagyan is that knowledge where even when he's far away at a distance, he can still hear what the warriors are speaking. This is how Sanjaya could see the whole battle. Through Divya Drishti and Antargyan, he could see the whole battle as to what is happening and keep giving real-time updates. It was a live commentary. You see, in the present day, you have so many news channels, NDTV, Times Now, and Republic, and whatever. And then you have sports where you have live commentaries. So Sanjay is the origin. He gave a live commentary to a real fight. Whatever was happening, he gave a real-time commentary. To Divya Drishti and through Antargyan, he was able to explain to Dhritarashtra Maharaj what was happening. And through Shabdagyan, he could understand and hear what Krishna spoke to Arjuna. What Krishna spoke to Arjuna, no one else could hear. Only three people could hear. Krishna, of course, Arjuna, and Sanjaya. Sanjaya because he was the recipient of the mercy of Vyasadeva. Arjuna because Krishna wanted him to. And of course, Krishna because he's the speaker. So three boons of Vyasadeva fructified in time wherein it helped Sanjaya give real-time updates through Dhritarashtra. Now Sanjaya starts speaking. And we see from verse 3 to verse 11 of the first chapter, it is Duryodhan who is giving an idea of the opposite army to Dronacharya. So Duryodhan is speaking to Dronacharya, which Sanjaya is seeing from a distance and speaking that back to Dhritarashtra. So it's a nested loop for anyone who is a developer, who is a programmer, who is into writing programs. We have a nested loop. Ek loop ke andar dusra loop. So we find similarly here, Sanjaya is speaking to Dhritarashtra and he is reiterating that which Duryodhan is speaking to Dronacharya. Dronacharya, as we know, is the guru of the Pandavas and the Kauravas because he taught them how to fight. The present day, We have a place called as Gurugram, or also they called as Gurgaon. Gurugram. Gurugram, the word Guru stands for Guru Dronacharya, and Grama means the place. So Gurugram was that place where Pandavas and Kauravas, when they were small, they came together to learn the art of fighting. They learned weapons in the present day Gurugram. जो दिल्ली के पास है Gurugram, the word Guru stands for Guru Dronacharya. That is why one devotee was telling me when I was in Gurugram, he was telling me that in Gurugram there is one railway station called as Guru Dronacharya railway station. It's called Guru Dronacharya railway station. Why? Because Guru Dron was situated in the present day Gurugram. So all these places are still there. Astinapur and Indraprastha. Indraprastha is the present day Delhi. The Delhi that we have is the present day Indraprastha. And so on and so forth. So we find Duryodhan turns to Dronacharya. Why is he called Dronacharya? So if you see, for every name that we are speaking, we are trying to break it down as to what it means. We spoke about Duryodhan, Arjun, Dhritarashtra, Krishna, and now we are coming to Dronacharya. He is called Drona. Dron basically means or a bowl, right? In our ISKCON also we say, Prasad, Prabhuji, Prasad Dron mein dijiye. Give me in a drone, right? Drona means a cup. So he was called Dronacharya because Dronacharya appeared in this world from a cup. He didn't appear from the womb of any lady. He didn't appear from the womb of any lady. He appeared from a cup. How he appeared is a different long story, not getting into the details. But he appeared from a cup. He who appeared from a Drona is called Dronacharya. And now when Duryodhan speaks to Dronacharya, he says, my dear Dronacharya, look at the army that the son of Drupad, Maharaj Drupad has made. Who is the son of Maharaj Drupad? Drushtadumna. So, wait a minute. Duryodhan could have said, my dear Dronacharya, look at the army that Drushtadumna has made. ऐसे ही बोल सकते थे, it's very easy. Why does he say, look at the army that the son of Drupad has made? Why? Because Maharaj Drupad and Dronacharya have a long-standing battle. Duryodhan is so wicked that on purpose he takes the name of Drupad so that it can instigate the Kshatriya spirit in Dronacharya. जानबूझकर उनका नाम लेके अरे उनका लड़का है ना उनका लड़के का आर्मी है ये. Both of them have a long-standing battle. Why? It's very interesting that both of them studied in the same Gurukul when they were small. Dronacharya and Drupad. And when both of them studied in the same Gurukul, one day in the excitement, Maharaj Drupad, at that time he was not Maharaj, he was a prince. He said that when I grow up, 50% of my kingdom I will give to you, O Dronacharya. When I grow up, 50% of my kingdom is to you. And eventually, as life unfolded, when Maharaj Drupad became the king, Dronacharya was a pauper, didn't have much financial aid. He came back to Maharaj Drupad. And Drupad Maharaj insulted him, rebuked him, chastised him, and sent him away. He said, friendship means friendship should be in equals. You are a beggar. I am a king. There's no friendship. He sent Dronacharya away. And this humiliated Dronacharya. This act of Maharaj Drupad humiliated Dronacharya so much that it sparked a chain of events which led to the Mahabharata. Now let's just pause here and let's go back to Krishna Lila in Bhagavatam. In Bhagavatam also, there are two friends. Those two friends also studied together in the Gurukul. They were also good friends. And as life unfolded, one became the king, one became a pauper. Same storyline. Krishna and Sudama. Both were in the same Gurukul of Sandipani Muni. Krishna becomes the king, Dwarakadish. Sudama becomes Kantan Gopal. He doesn't have anything much. He's a pauper, he's a beggar. But now what happens? When that same Sudama who's a beggar goes to Krishna, does Krishna rebuke him? No. Does Krishna humiliate him? No. Does Krishna chastise him? No. Bhagavatam explains Krishna got up from his throne, made Sudama sit, and started worshipping Sudama. That, my dear Sudama, where were you? You are my dear friend, but where were you? Krishna loved him so much. The same parallel Mahabharata. Two friends, both childhood friends. One becomes the king, one becomes a pauper. When Pauper Dronacharya goes and meets the king Drupad, Drupad insults him. That's a very strong lesson from these two pastimes, that come what may, life may take us to different turns and circumstances. But we should never forget the fact that irrespective of whether one has money or not, it is immaterial. समय समय की बात है, आज व्यक्ति के पास पैसा नहीं है, कल यदि वो व्यक्ति धनवान बन गया, the tables will turn. So devotee means we learn the art of being the same with everyone, not being biased to someone because they have money, and uh, not being in the mood where we chastise or we rebuke or we humiliate just because someone is not having money. We are the same with everyone. Like this forum of Gita Amritam Rasamal, we see the classes are free. There's no charge. There's no consideration that whether we have money or not, or what we have done in the past. It's free of cost. And it will be free of cost. Why? Because bhakti is free of cost. Krishna has given it free, and the devotees also keep it free. So it's a strong principle, a strong lesson that we learn from two friends as to how one respects the friend even after becoming the king, one doesn't respect. And because he doesn't respect the friend, it turns into a big fight, the Mahabharata. And this is why Duryodhan knew all this. And this is why in verses 3 to 11 he says, my dear Dronacharya, look, the army that has been made by the son of Drupad. जानबूझ के द्रुपद का नाम लेना था क्योंकि there is a back history to it. Then we find from verses 12 to 19, both the armies, they blow the conch shell. Panchajanyam Rishikesham Devadatta Dhananjaya. Krishna blows the conch shell. And when Krishna blows the conch shell, it's an event in itself. Panchajanyam. Hmm? Panchajanyam Rishikesham Devadatta Dhananjaya. For Arjuna, it was Devadatta. And similarly, the Gita explains Bhishma Dev, Nakul, Sahadev, Yudhishthir, all of them, Bhima, all of them blow their conch shell. It's to signify that the battle is now about to start. And now, as the battle is about to start, Arjuna says, no, 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 wait a minute. Krishna, wait a minute. Senayor uvayor madhye ratham sthapaya me achyuta. Hey Achyuta, hey Krishna, before we start, please take the rath, the chariot, in the center of the battlefield. Verses 21 to 27. Arjuna is asking Krishna, my dear Krishna, take the rath in the center so that I can see कौन कौन आए हैं, कौन कौन उपस्थित है. I can see everyone. Now it's very interesting. He doesn't call Krishna as Krishna. He doesn't call Krishna as Madhav. He doesn't call Krishna as Govind. Like if you have seen the Mahabharata, not the old one, the one that came in 2013, the Hotstar one. In that we see Arjuna is always addressing Krishna as Hey Madhav, Hey Govind, for those the latest ones. Of course, those who have seen the older one, B.R. Chopra, of course, that's another history in itself. But in the present one, for those who have seen the youth, see, there Arjuna addresses Krishna as Hey Madhav, Hey Govind, etc. But here, Arjuna is addressing Krishna as not as Madhav and Govind, he is addressing him as Achyuta. Why? Is it a slip of tongue? No. Arjuna knows what he is doing. So again, we're coming back to the name. These names are very important. If you see throughout the scripture, whenever anyone is named, there is always a meaning to it. There is always a meaning to it. In the present day, we find the names are all here and there. Monu, Sonu, Tittu, Pappu. It means nothing. पहले के जमाने में नाम भगवान के नाम के ऊपर थे. आजकल के जमाने में ऐसे नाम है कुछ अर्थ ही नहीं उसका. They mean nothing. So it's a principle we learn from the scripture that names should be in line with the names of God. Ideally, if the names of children and the family members can be in the names of the Supreme Lord, then it's beneficial. Why? Because भगवान का नाम जब लेते हैं व्यक्ति का उद्धार होता है. मोनू सोनू पप्पू टिट्टू में उद्धार नहीं होता. Right? So names should be in line with the names of the Supreme. So here Arjuna calls Krishna as Achyuta. Senayor ubhayor madhye ratham sthapayame Achyuta. Hey Achyuta, take my chariot in the middle. And when he sees everything, Arjuna is in a predicament. Arjuna is in a predicament. Why? Because he first of all calls Krishna as Achyuta. Why Achyuta? What does Achyuta mean? If you see the English, then in English it says the infallible one. The infallible one. But if you just see the Sanskrit, Chuta, in Sanskrit, Chuta means to fall. Achyuta, he who doesn't fall from his position. Chuta means to fall. Achyuta, he who never falls from his position. ऐसे व्यक्ति जो जिनका पतन कभी नहीं होता, उनका जो स्थान है उस स्थान से उनका पतन कभी नहीं होता. अच्युता. In the Bhagavatam, there is a very famous story. And not getting the details, we have all seen that story where there is a fruit vendor and then there's Krishna. Krishna has baby legs, baby hands, so small, baby chubby face, and Krishna is going to get some fruits. And he brings grains so that grains he can offer to that fruit vendor lady in order to exchange for fruits. Barter system. Right? Those days there was no currency, there was barter system. So Krishna thought to himself, now I have to bring grains. So Krishna went to his home, took a lot of grains, palm full of grains, and he started walking towards the fruit vendor lady. And Shukadev Goswami Bhagavatam, it explains that as Krishna was walking with the palm full of grains, by the time he reached the fruit vendor lady, all the grains started falling from his hand. And by the time he reached, हाथ में कुछ भी नहीं था. His hand was empty. And Krishna confidently said, take it. Whatever is there, please take it. And the fruit vendor lady started laughing. Are Baba, there is nothing. There is nothing. But she was so enamored by the beauty of Krishna. So there Shukadev Goswami says, he who's Achyuta, who never falls from his position, from his hands grains became Chuta. Grains started falling from his hand. He who's Achyuta, unke haath se jo grains tha, that became Chuta. My Guru Maharaj says, Srila Radha Govinda Maharaj, he says, he who gives fruits of credit to everyone on this world now started begging for fruits. He who's phalaprada, जो सबको फल प्रदान करते हैं, आज वृंदावन धाम में फल के भिक्षु बन गए हैं. He who's phalaprada has now become phalarti. He who's achyuta has now become, from his hand, grains have become chuta. So why is Arjuna calling Krishna as Achyuta here? Because Arjuna has technically fallen from his position where he's a Kshatriya. Kshatriya means they should be fighting. But here Arjuna is going into a shell, he's going into a despondency where he's saying, I don't want to fight. हमें नहीं लड़ना, ये हमारे मित्र जन है, ये हमारे परिवार वाले हैं, हमें नहीं लड़ना. He has technically fallen from his position of being Kshatriya. So he tells Krishna, Krishna, you are Achyuta. You never fall from your position, but I have fallen from my position. Please inspire me so that I can also rise and become Achyuta, so that I also don't fall from my position. Senayor ubhayor madhye ratham sthapayame Achyuta. So Gita is very deep. The words that are used by Arjuna, very significant and very deep. Every word, there's a strong meaning that's used. And finally, we find in the last section, that is verses 28 to 46, Arjuna, when he sees the whole army, he doesn't feel like fighting. He gives 4 reasons why he doesn't want to fight. And I wouldn't want to repeat it because I'm pretty sure all of you all in the Gita Amritam Rasamalayam class have gone through the 4 reasons why Arjuna doesn't want to fight. I also saw the video recording where there was a quiz and all of you all got some 50 point, 100 points for answering the quizzes. So I'm pretty sure you have done thorough study of what the 4 reasons are as to why Arjuna did not fight. But it brings us back to the same point where he became Chuta. He fell down from his position of not wanting to fight, and Krishna had to regroup and inspire him And Krishna had to do a pep talk. It was the first ever TED talk. In this world, people are crazy behind TED talks. What Krishna spoke to Arjuna was the first ever TED talk. In straight 48 minutes, he inspired Arjuna. And not just inspired Arjuna, he inspired generations to come. And mind you, there's no video recording. In TED Talks, there are video recordings, but when Krishna spoke, there's no video recording. But still, people get inspired. And not just in the religious sections, but we find even in IIM, Indian Institute of Management, Gita has been used as a management tool, management study. Because Krishna, what he speaks to Arjuna, is not just spiritual, it is way beyond spiritual, where it helps a person how to navigate through life, how to navigate through challenges. Not all teaching is done inside a classroom. A classroom has four walls and a blackboard. Not all kind of teaching is done there. Why? Because Krishna, who's the greatest teacher, gave the greatest instruction to mankind in a battlefield where there was no blackboard and there was no four walls. Krishna spoke it in a battlefield because a battlefield is where we can connect the most. Our life is not different from a battlefield. If you're a youth, you have school projects, IIT. For those who are practicing medical, you have NEET, MHCET. So many exams are there. Every single day, there is some stress or the other. For those who are in job, it's the season of layoffs. Every single day, you find there is some layoff. Hmm? For those who are working professionals, they have that fear. So there is stress, anxiety, lamentation, depression. Every emotion is being churned in the heart. Just like for Arjuna, every emotion was being churned in the heart. So our life is not different from a battlefield. If Krishna would have spoken inside four walls of Dwarka, people would have said, "Ha, Dwarka ke andar speaking is not a big deal." Why? Because everything was nice there. But Krishna didn't speak it there. He spoke it at a place where it's relatable, where there is fighting, there is bloodshed, there is crying, there is tears, there's depression, anxiety, lamentation, everything is going on. So that we don't complain the fact that Bhagavad Gita is not relatable to us. So in this way, we find Krishna very beautifully. Not Krishna, because Krishna has not started speaking, but Sanjaya has given an idea of what's happening in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is observing the armies. And before I end, mm, I just want to share a very sweet story of how the Bhagavad Gita came into existence in our ISKCON movement. When Prabhupada was in New York, Prabhupada was in New York, and at that time, Prabhupada was living in the Bowery. And the Bowery is not considered a very uptown place. It's the place where drug addicts would live. It's a cheap place to stay. And because Prabhupada, Swamiji did not have money, he was staying in the Bowery on the third floor. And one time, as he went out and then he came back in, he saw the Bhagavad Gita that he had written. The transcripts were all completely stolen. पूरा गीता जो लिखे थे, पूरा भगवद गीता जो लिखे थे, everything was stolen. Imagine you write the whole of Bhagavad Gita, you're there in a foreign land and it's completely stolen. Any normal person would give up, but not Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada started it again. Let's do it one more time. Even the introduction that we have of Bhagavad Gita, if you read the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, it's actually a transcription of a class that Prabhupada gave. When Prabhupada was in New York, Prabhupada would do Monday, Wednesday, Friday Bhagavad Gita class evening 7 o'clock. And one time, as he had announced like this, no one turned up. आज तो भी 46 लोग हैं, 46-50 people are there. When Prabhupada spoke at that time, there was no one in the audience. But Prabhupada still spoke. There were only four walls. Prabhupada still spoke. And what he spoke ended up becoming the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita. The introduction that we have of Bhagavad Gita is not written by Prabhupada. It was a class that he gave in New York when no one attended. It was recorded. Later, that was transcribed and brought into existence. And let's share a quick story. When Prabhupada was there in 26 Second Avenue in New York, at that time, Prabhupada would would record everything on the dictaphone. And when he would record in the dictaphone, his disciples would transcribe and they would write. But now this was a challenge. Why? Because Prabhupada was dictating very fast. Every day he was dictating pages after pages, and disciples, it was very difficult for them. Why? Because Prabhupada had a strong Bengali accent. And these youth were Americans who were 18, 19, 20. And this is the first time they're hearing to someone who's a 70-year-old person and having a strong Bengali accent. So it was very difficult for them to transcribe. And Prabhupada was just going on and on and on and dictating. And that time they were thinking to themselves, how is it that we are going to fill this gap? How can we bridge this gap? At that time, they had a knock on their door. A 17-year-old boy walked in. Brahmananda Prabhu was one of Prabhupada's disciples. He opened the door of 26 Second Avenue. A 17-year-old boy walked in and he said, I'm from the Antioch College in New York. I want to do internship. I want to do internship, and if I do internship, I will get credits for my university. In America, if you do internship, you get credits. That concept is still not there in India, but in America and in the Western world, when you do internship, that internship can be used as credits for your bachelor's or master's. He said, I want to do internship here. So Brahmananda Prabhu said, we don't have any internship. We have just begun the movement. It's not even registered. What internship we'll give you? He said, no, anything that you can give me. Brahmananda Prabhu said, okay, what are you good at? He said, I am good at transcribing. Brahmananda Prabhu's eyes lit up. He said, what? He said, yeah, I am good at transcribing. Neki or puch puch. Brahmananda Prabhu said, okay, let's go inside. He opened the trunk and the whole trunk was filled with uh, pages, but they were all blank pages. Why? Because they were meant for transcribing. And these people, Brahmananda Prabhu and Hayagriva Prabhu, who were there, they were not able to follow. But this boy who walked in, he said, my forte is transcription. He was a 17-year-old boy. And his name was Neil. So naam bhi almost Bhagavan ka naam hai, Neil. 17-year-old boy. And he said, I'm good at transcription. Brahmananda Prabhu said, okay. He gave one cassette, audio recording of Prabhupada, and said, try this. And Brahmananda Prabhu says, my goodness, that boy just raced through the tape. In just a few hours, it was done. And the transcription was also correct. So when they told Prabhupada, Prabhupada said, okay, give him few more internship credits, give him more. And then they gave a little more to him. And Brahmananda Prabhu said, for the next 3 months, this boy every day for about 8 to 10 hours was living in the 26 Second Avenue transcribing. And in the 3 months, he transcribed 4 books. Ishopanishad, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction, and the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita that we have, the as it is, was transcribed by a 17-year-old boy, Neil, at 26 Second Avenue, New York, as a college credit internship program. And Brahmananda Prabhu said, 3 months were done. He transcribed 4 books. Everything were accurate. He went back to his college. Boom, never to be seen again. He was never seen again. But when Prabhupada heard it, Prabhupada said, in the 4 months, the amount of work that he has done for the whole lifetime. He has done for the whole lifetime. He has served Krishna at a time when it was most important. So let us remind ourselves of the history of how the Bhagavad Gita came into existence in our ISKCON movement. And also let's remind ourselves that age is not a barrier. One can be young, one can be middle-aged, one can even be old. Of course, no one considers they're old. Even if someone is in their 60s and 70s, heart still feels we're 16. Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. But even if someone is young, middle-aged, or old, age is not a criteria for bhakti. Vyadasya charanam dhruvasya chavayor vidya gajendrasya ka kubjaya kimunam rupam adhikam kim tat sudamno dhanam vamsha kim vidurasya yadav pate ugrasya ka paurusha bhaktim tushyati kevalam nacha gunair bhaktim priyo madhava. Vyadasya charanam dhruvasya chavayor. What was the age of Dhruva? 5 years old. What was the age of Prahlad? 5 years old. Did they get Krishna? Did they get Bhagavan? Yes. Vyadasya charanam dhruvasya chaviyor vidya gajendrasya. Gajendra was an elephant, didn't have much intelligence, but did he get the Supreme Lord? Yes. Which means age is not the criteria. Intelligence is not the criteria to get Supreme Lord. Vidya gajendrasya ka Kubja. Did Kubja get Krishna? Yes. Was Kubja beautiful? No. But did she get Krishna? Yes. Which means beauty is also not the criteria to get Krishna. Ubjaya kimu nama rupam adhikam kim tat sudhamno dhanam. Sudama did not have money. Did he get Krishna? Yes. Which means money is also not the criteria to get Krishna. Hmm? Vyadasya charanam dhruvasya chavayor vidya gajendrasya ka kubjaya kimu nama rupam adhikam kim tat sudhamno dhanam. Vamsha kim vidura. Was Vidura born in a very high class family? No. He was considered Dasiputra. But did he get Krishna? Yes. Which means our birth also does not mandate. Our birth is not uh, important for getting Krishna. Age is not important. Bhakti is not important. Beauty is not important. Money is not important for getting Krishna. Then the question arises, what is important to get Krishna? भगवान को कैसे प्राप्त करे? अर्जुन के समान, प्रहलाद के समान भगवान को कैसे प्राप्त करे? भक्त्या तुष्यति केवलम न च गुणैर भक्तिम प्रयो माधव. There is only one thing that attracts Krishna. That is bhakti. Sincere, loving, devotional service. Prabhupada translates bhakti in the Gita as devotional service. Not just devotion, devotional service. When there is sincere, genuine, loving, devotional service in the heart, Krishna is attracted. He is not looking for the material attributes. He is looking for the simplicity. Just like Arjuna had the simplicity in his heart, and Krishna was ready to accept, embrace, and impart and illuminate his heart with knowledge. Having said this, I very humbly want to stop here. Thank you all very much for being a very kind, attentive audience and for engaging me in the service of sharing a few words of wisdom from the Bhagavad Gita. I once again want to thank Sham Sundar Prabhu and Sham Chandra Prabhu for very kindly inviting me and having this forum of Gita Amritam Rasamalayam. For all the devotees who are joining us first time, who are not there in the start of the class, this is a systematic study that both of them have been doing every Saturdays, and this is the 9th class. So 8 classes have been done systematically. Of course, this was an overview. So if you want to join, please get connected to them and do a systematic study of the Bhagavad Gita that Srila Prabhupada emphasized so much. It is one of the most important books that a Sanatani, follower of Sanatan Dharma, should study and understand. So I wholeheartedly encourage and urge all of you all, if you are not part of that group, please get in touch with them, get connected, study the Gita and answer a few quizzes so that you can get prizes and then you can deepen your study of the Bhagavad Gita. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvad ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai, Jai, Jai. So big thanks to